49. Yes, 49 new basketball players in the ACC, with more to come for the 2024-25 season. How do we keep up with it all? When will Virginia or Stanford land a player in the portal? Who's even on the rosters for most of the ACC? We will discuss it all tonight on the ACC Huddle. Good evening, everybody. The deadline to enter the transfer portal closed on Wednesday, May the 1st. And there's still a ton of movement to happen, I am sure. Tonight, I'm going to discuss the portal, what teams have been up to. And we're going to start tonight with teams who are losing players. Later tonight, we'll have Jay from the Cavalier Connection joining us as well. But let's take a look at just the transfer portal. As you see right here, Louisville, we're just going to start out. Louisville, 13 players leaving. SMU has 9 leaving. Florida State, 8. Miami, 7. Cal, 7. Duke, 7. Virginia Tech, 7. Wake Forest, 6. Georgia Tech, 6. Boston College, 6. Syracuse, 4. Stanford, 4. Clemson, 3. And it's a lot of teams in the ACC now. Notre Dame, 3. NC State, 2. Pitt, 2. Virginia, 2. And Carolina, 1. That's a lot of players that have entered the transfer portal. And the question is, how do you build a sustainable, winning basketball program with so many players coming in and out? I can't keep up with it. Just in the years previous, we've looked at the Virginia basketball team, and I feel like every year 3 and 4 players are leaving. And I was like, dang, that's a whole heck of a lot. And I know with the NIL and the transfer portal rules, it makes it super easy to leave now. So, when I started doing the ACC Huddle, I started doing the research on how many folks are actually leaving these programs. And I mean, by gosh, Louisville, we understand. New coach, Pat Kelsey, got hired. So a once proud college basketball program is now, just trying to rebuild and get started. And I actually think Pat Kelsey's going to do a great job. SMU, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about. They're just now joining the ACC and losing 9 players to the transfer portal. And these are not players that are going to the NBA or graduating. This is people entering the portal. Florida State, there's been a lot of stability at Florida State, but still 8 players out. And then you look down, Duke, 7 players out, and that one's understandable as well with the recruiting class that's coming in this year. It's just unreal. And also, I know just today, their 5-star McDonald's All-American Sean Stewart committed to Ohio State. Clemson, they've got 3 out, plus also just announcing today was P.J. Hall that he was entering the NBA draft. And then finally, Cal, 7 players out, but they have a new head coach. But it's a lot. There's not a lot of stability within college basketball, football, you name it in these college sports. It's hard to build a program that is going to develop kids. And the question I have is, how do you build a program like that? So I just took a look at 2 teams, UConn and Purdue. They played for the national title this past year. And so they kind of did it 2 different ways. UConn, they played with 3 homegrown UConn guys, one that had been there for 2 years after transferring, and one that made UConn their 3rd school. So that's kind of the makeup of their starting 5. Purdue, they had 1 transfer in their starting lineup that had transferred after 4 years at Southern Illinois, so a graduate transfer. And the rest of their starters were all homegrown, playing anywhere from 2 to, their star, Zach Edey, 4-year player. So two different ways to do it. And UConn, obviously, they won the national title. But if you want to win in 2024, I believe you have to be able to have be able to hit that portal hard. So moving forward, I did want to take a look at the portal rankings. These are all 24/7's basketball transfer portal rankings, and rank number one was NC State, as they've gotten four stars that are incoming. Louisville had 6 4-stars incoming, and like I said, they had to restructure their whole roster. Then you got Miami, who has 3. And I'm real quick, I'm gonna bring Jay in from the Cavalier Connection to the stage real quick here. Jay, can you hear me?
I can hear you well, Joe. Sorry about being a little bit late to the show.
It's good to have you tonight. You're not too late. So real quick before I continue, each week I've done this ACC Huddle. I've had technical difficulties, and I
saw something strange with the StreamYard lasted a minute.
It lasted a minute, and so I did the intro. I've got YouTube pulled up on my big screen TV. I thought everything is set. It's gonna immediately go live at the same time. It didn't happen. I'm a rookie.
One of these days one of these days there'll be a smooth show.
There'll be a smooth one. Last week, I'm sitting in the hospital, and so we had pre-done the ACC Huddle show with the Hill brothers,
right?
And so everything's done. All I have to do is upload it. 9:00. Our show time is 9:00, folks. And if you know Jeff is punctual. I've been in front of this computer since 7:00 tonight. I've had YouTube pulled up the whole time. I'm just constantly tinkering, trying to make sure that this thing gets on time. But anyway, I am a punctual person. Last week, I go to upload. I'm in the hospital. What do you think the Wi-Fi is like in there? In the service. It took forever. Show comes on at 9:30. I apologize to our loyal listeners. I'm not going to have any left if I can't get this on point. So tonight I'm there, 9:00. I did my whole opening speech, and then I'm like, this thing's not going live. On the positive note, I've only got it set to stream to YouTube, so I was able to end it and we restart. So I think we were 5 or 10 minutes late tonight. I'm gonna fight my guts out for next week. That we're gonna get into there.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get it right eventually.
Yes. Jay, I was talking about
I was going to segue, Jeff. I was going to segue to say, just like Coach Bennett in the portal, he's going to get it right eventually.
Well, as a Virginia fan, I hope you're right as well. I was talking about, the number of players that are leaving schools into the portal. And I just went down the list, and, Louisville, they are obviously new coach, 13 players left. And as I was telling everybody, there is this is not numbers of people who are graduating, right, or, going to the NBA or whatever that you might say. This is entering the transfer portal. And so, you understand the Louisville's of the world with the new coach, but I mean, gosh, it's so many players going in and out. I mean, this is free agency. College basketball.
Is that 4 stars? That 6 4-stars? Have they got 4 stars coming in? 6
coming in now. Yeah. So I've moved on to, this is the transfer portal rankings currently. So
for the ACC only.
Yes, only the ACC.
Okay.
And NC State was ranked number 1 by 24/7 Sports as the top team in the portal with 4 4-stars. And the guys they got coming in, I mean, these have potential to be some outstanding guys for a team that made it, Final
they've
Four.
Got to replace a lot.
They have to replace a lot.
The whole offense ran through Burns' bully ball.
That's true. That's true. 4 4-stars helps.
Yeah, for sure.
As a Virginia fan, I want 1.
Yeah, I would be stoked to have 1, as I said on our show last night. Just give me 1. Just 1 signing.
Yes.
Just 1.
And so Louisville has 6 4-stars and 2 3-stars. So they've already gotten 8 they've brought in to replace the 13.
When you think about Louisville, though, you're gonna it's one thing to bring in 8, but they still have like 5. I assume 5 or 6 roster spots left to fill.
Yes.
Like, are you bringing in guys to start? You bringing in guys to close off your bench? What are you bringing in? Like, when you have to literally rebuild the entire team, like, what is your goal? First, you got to get starters, I guess. Then you're looking for starter level players, but they're just going to transfer out again if they don't play. So it's like, I would never want to be in that situation.
Yeah, but they got to start somewhere. I mean, they had nothing. But yes, they had they still have plenty, and I'm gonna bring up a graphic here in a minute. They've got scholarships they've got to fill, as do a lot of these schools. And Cal's got a new coach, and they've got, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about some of these teams coming in from the previous Pac-12. They got 4-stars incoming, a couple of those, and 4 3-stars. And then you got Duke, and I think Duke had in the portal I mentioned they had lost 7 players. But if you look at their recruiting class, with this portal, they're just trying to fill out the rest of the roster.
And they got the shooter from Purdue. I know they got him, and then they got the kid from Syracuse that we wanted.
Yes.
So, I mean,
and I was gonna say,
why do the guys keep going there? Like, they're going to be so frustrated. At least I think the Syracuse kid, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But he's going to, he's not going to play the amount of minutes that he could have gotten at a number of other schools.
Correct.
I don't understand it. Like, if your goal, I mean, if it was an NIL thing, sure. Okay. Maybe you're getting paid. Maybe there's reasons there. Maybe you just want to wear the Duke. Maybe just, you think I want to play for that brand. And if that's the case, then by all means, it's your prerogative to do. But he's not going to play.
Right. No, he's not. He's not. No. Yeah, I definitely understood the outgoing for Duke. I don't understand, what would make you select to go to Duke other than you just want to wear that jersey and have a shot to win something. And you tell yourself, it's about the experience. And I know I'm not going to play.
Well, you can't play 3 centers at a time, 4 centers.
Correct.
They got like 2 5-star centers, and then they got the Cooper Flagg kid who's a 4. Yes. Biggest recruit since probably Leitner. I mean, where again? You're just gonna like TJ. Was it TJ Power?
Yeah.
1 year, and he's right back he's right in the portal.
Right.
And that's going to happen again.
Well, there are players who do that all the time. I'm gonna mention one just as a Virginia fan, Chase Coleman, and he was just a walk-on at Virginia, but he could have played, at a smaller school, but he had aspirations of becoming a head coach or coaching, and he wanted to learn from Tony Bennett. So these guys may have, different. They have to have different reasons for going to certain schools, because we know, like some of these guys, you go to Duke, you're not playing.
No.
With these guys they got coming in, but as you see this list here, I know Virginia Tech, they lost their whole starting 5, and
they lost their top 7.
Right.
Not only the top, starting 5, but the top 2 off the bench. They're, with what they brought in. I mean, maybe they can be decent, but I think they're going to take a step down. TJ Powers, I actually heard was leaning Boston College.
Yeah, I saw that.
So if they were to get him, I don't know. I think one of their guards, good players, left and went to Clemson. So it's like I saw the title of the episode, Musical Chairs. That's exactly what it is. I mean, and now it's not just out of conference. You're seeing these kids transfer from one conference school to another. I mean, like UVA hosted Florida State's point guard.
Right.
this week.
Right.
It's like there's nothing off limits right
Right.
now. You just go. It is truly the wild, wild west. There's no like, I feel like before the NIL and you had the transfer portal that we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Virginia fans would freak out if we lost 2 or 3 kids a year.
Right.
And it was like now, it's like you just know it's coming, and it's. I feel like there was a handshake agreement almost. Don't take kids from the conference.
Right.
But now it's like,
nope.
Do whatever you want.
Because we don't know how much longer it's going to be a conference.
Well, that's a fact.
And then just take a look at FSU down here. They've had one, and as Virginia fans, we're sweating with 0. FSU's had one incoming transfer portal player as a 3-star, and FSU had 8 players enter the portal. Ooh. They got a lot of work to do. Leonard Hamilton is not.
I really thought he might be replaced at the end of the year, especially after we talked to Jesse from Plant the Spear.
Yeah.
He's a great listen. If you haven't given him a chance yet, I strongly recommend going and listening to or reading some of his work. He's really good. But it was one of those things where he kind of thought that they may move on at the end of the year, and it seems like that's not going to happen at this point. So
yeah, no, they've got a lot of work to do. In fact, I do want to. I'm gonna pull up real quick. I want to show what people are staring down. So currently in the ACC, there's 56 scholarships still available to fill. Isn't that crazy? Like, I know that
I think kids would be jumping.
Yeah, I know that before but when the portal opened at one point, there's over 1,000 players in the portal.
Right.
Just look at this.
How many are we down to? Are we still over 1,000? Or I know they can't enter, but they can obviously still sign. So
right. I that's one I couldn't find. I was trying to find that to see how many people are in the portal. It's so god awful many. They probably can't get the statistics. I don't know. They got to have it somewhere. But 56 scholarships are available in the ACC, and this is ACC basketball.
So 56. You got a lot of schools here. I mean, like Virginia just won the national championship in 2019, and can't fill out a roster.
Correct.
Right now.
Correct.
Duke, who's probably being more selective than not able to fill the scholarship, would be my guess with them.
Right.
And I think I saw on the Heel Brothers, who is the UNC rep that was on with you last week, another very entertaining and good listen. And I think I saw him post on X that somebody who had transferred out of UNC has now transferred back into UNC. And we were trying to actually do that at Virginia with Igor Milicic.
Yeah.
And he ended up signing with Tennessee the other day, so we lost out on him. You read as Virginia fans, I'm hyper focused on Virginia for our show, but when you start digging into the ACC and you're like, it feels like as Virginia, like, man, it's good to see these numbers, because I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just us.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I feel the same way. When I, as I was researching to do this episode, I'm like, well, on X, we're following at the Cavalier Connection, we're following UVA everything.
Right.
So stuff will get by us, if I was following Florida State, for example, and all of their publications and Twitter feeds, I might be panicking as a Seminole. I'd be panicking as a Seminole right now. 6 spots sitting out there. And one of your guys is visiting Virginia right now. So
right.
It's quite interesting. And so I was just trying to think,
The one thing you can say, Jeff, for sure, like that is exciting is like you could be a terrible basketball team like Louisville was, and with their brand, if they did get the right coach, you could go from like being a 10-win team or whatever they won, 10, 15. I don't know their record from last year. I know it wasn't good. You could literally go from that to like winning a national championship.
Yeah.
if you were to get the right recruits and the right transfers.
It
And
definitely,
you could just totally remake the
Right.
roster. Like there's never, like it used to be when we were growing up, like if that freshman class didn't hit, you knew, well, we better hit on the next one. If we don't hit on the next one,
right.
we're looking at 2 to 3 down years in the program because they're just here. Like they're
Right.
not leaving. They just suck.
Right. No,
And
no doubt.
and now it's like, you see guys leaving programs that are actually playing. Like it's
Right.
not just, I mean,
No, yeah.
like leaving ACC schools.
Yes.
You're a start, like Florida State's starting point guard.
Right.
I'm just getting in the portal. I mean, I don't know his reasons. He may have good ones, but it's like, wow, like that never happened in the past.
And he's not the only one. So
no, not at all. Not at all.
You're definitely right. You can rebuild or retool, I should say. There's no rebuilding anymore.
No.
You can retool really quick. The question is, as a coach, can you retool and win quickly? I'm saying this as a Virginia fan, but you think about Florida State, coaches who've been there for a long time, and they have a specific system or a specific way they like to do things, and it takes time for the kids you bring in to learn.
Yeah.
That you have to adapt. So in order
that's
to
the world
succeed,
we live in.
Yes. And in order to succeed in this world, you got to be able to adapt quick.
Mm-hmm.
And these coaches, especially these guys who've been around a long time, it's tough. Coaching college sports in general, let's go right to it. Football and basketball.
Right.
You are in the portal, and you are having to recruit the portal, recruit your own players back, recruit high school, scheme, play, all at the same time.
Oh yeah. So I mean, all right, so we can share this story. This was from our podcast, but Tyler Neville, tight end from Harvard, right? Mm-hmm. They're a 10-game schedule season. So their season ends a little bit earlier than everybody else's. He said that within 5 minutes of entering the portal, he picked up, I think, 80 followers or something on his account, social media accounts, began getting messages, direct messages from coaches. It came down to Virginia and South Carolina for him. And he called Virginia and said, hey, I'm thinking about committing to one of y'all two in the next day or two. What did they do, Jeff?
They immediately flew down and had to close the deal right away.
Virginia coaches, I don't know what else they had on their calendars,
right.
But they immediately got on a plane, flew to Harvard, and he committed to them right then.
Right.
But that's the life.
Right.
How many times does that happen? You can't. It's like you're sitting at home and you get a phone call from a kid who says, "Hey, I might want to come commit." Okay, well, we're hopping on the plane and coming to talk to you. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yep. Well, also, did you notice? I know this was talked about in the NFL draft when Nick Saban, he was working at ESPN covering the draft, and he slipped up or he didn't care because he's not coaching anymore. I forget who the player was. You definitely found out he contacted that kid before that kid was even in the portal.
I read something about it. I didn't see it live. I was watching one of the other networks.
Yeah, he had said something, about, we had a hard time, almost like we had a hard time getting him into the portal. I'm
And you
like,
know
good.
that stuff's going on.
Oh, I know. There's no doubt. No
How,
doubt.
how
And
many
then,
burner accounts do these coaches have? It's
right.
like, it's like, you know,
Well, look, I have, and this is before all these transfer opportunities. I'm not going to name any names, but there was a specific coach for a school in the state of Virginia, and they were looking at they were trying to get some information to a specific kid that went to a high school in 757. And this has been, this person's been out of college for a while now. And they came up and spoke to a guy that I worked with who played for that coach at a different school and asked him to go and talk to that kid and relay this information. I was right there and heard the whole thing.
wow.
I mean, this is crazy.
At least they were trying to do it the legit way.
Right.
Like they were, there's a fine line. They didn't contact him. If they contacted you to contact him.
We joke about, they walk in the locker room with the Louis Vuitton bag and full of cash.
If Nick Saban has a burner account named Dick Nabin, I mean, is it really Nick Saban doing the contact?
Right. This is an ACC guy, but Ron Mexico, you remember him? Michael Vick's alias.
Yeah,
Ron
we're not going to
Mexico.
talk about what he did to.
Not to get ladies. That. Yeah. So I've been trying to think, what could we do to this portal to help matters out a little bit to some of these schools?
I'm intrigued to hear what you have to say. You teased it on our show last night.
So this is just my thoughts. So my first solution. So I know the NIL plays a big role. But nobody has any obligations anymore. I enroll. I get a scholarship to North Carolina, and next year I can go to NC State, and the year after I can go to Duke. I mean, there's guys 4 and 5 schools. And don't get me wrong. I know these players have always really been on 1-year scholarships, but it just kind of getting renewed every year. It was nothing like it is now. So this was my thought process. We turned this thing into here's a number 1 here. Okay. When a player gets a scholarship, it's a 2-year contract to that school. The school has to uphold it too. So if RJ Davis is not playing well, you got him for 2. Okay. So that's number 1. All right.
So what if the kid can't break it?
He can't break it. Well, we'll get to there. Will be some stipulations. We're gonna start here though.
Okay.
You get your scholarship. It's a 2-year commitment contract to that school, and then you can renew after the 2, or you can go into the portal. It just guarantees you the school 2 years.
Okay.
Maybe I'm speaking as a Virginia fan, but I mean this year we didn't have people entering the portal, so and I kind of wanted it, but that's the lux of the game. Number 2, after the 2 years, they can enter the portal without penalty. No penalty. Just like we were just saying, okay?
All right.
Now, number 3, if the player wants to transfer prior to the end of the 2 years, they can do so, but they got to sit out a year, just like the old rules. You got a 2-year contract. If you want to transfer out, you're going to sit out a year. So you might want to stick for those 2 years because then you won't have to pay anyway.
Now, can the school say we're not going to renew, but we're going to have an open scholarship or a scholarship penalty?
I would say they could. I mean, they could do that right now. They're 1-year deals. They're really 1 year. Now, if you start cutting people after 1 year due to their play, you're not going to get people committing to your school either. So.
Right.
So anyway, that's just a thought. And then here are your exceptions. If a coach leaves or is fired, you can transfer right away. Or, and this is something that's been written before, in an extenuating circumstance, family issue, medical issue, and then you just have to have a NCAA board that reviews each one of these. The same board.
That didn't go well.
They started that. I think that was the start, other than the NIL, of just letting people just transfer right away.
You because
there was no consistency.
Yeah.
There were guys. I mean, speaking from Virginia fan, I mean, we got Philip Sims from Alabama, and they just let him come in due to a family thing. But I don't know
That
what
took forever. It
it
was
did.
very doubtful. I think we didn't get him, and then they appealed it,
Right.
and I think we won on appeal.
Right. But just some thoughts. I said I was teasing it last night only because, Mike Greenberg on Get Up, or, back in the day of Mike and Mike, he always had these wild ideas. And I don't think my idea is that wild, actually. But he'd always have an idea out there. He'll tell you that he changed the rules to the All-Star game in baseball with the extra inning rule. He'll let you know that all the time. The Greenie rule.
So could they transfer at any point after year 2, or do they have to re-up for 2 years?
That's a good question. So you can transfer after year 2. Then the question is that I didn't bring into consideration. That's why I needed somebody here to scrub this one for me. After 2, can you transfer year after year, or is it another 2-year contract? Or that's a good question. Yeah. Well, the one thing that I do know is the NCAA isn't listening to this, so it doesn't matter what I say. But if there's enough
there
of you,
to be something, they need to get in a room and figure this out. I mean, what about a salary cap where every school has the same amount of money?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
But if you did that, if you did that, you would have to really allocate, because you can determine how much. There's no minimum, right? So
right.
They're on scholarship, obviously, but then NIL, like the NIL budget is the salary cap. If you were to set a limit, $10 million a year or something, yeah, Duke could say, well, we're going to pay Cooper Flagg, 7, but then you only got 3 left over or something.
Right.
The problem
is you're saying per sport, or this is for the school?
Well, you'd have to put out football and basketball.
Your revenue generating.
Yeah, it would be like a breakaway from like the super conference, because you want it to be a level playing field.
Right.
And I mean, frankly, it's not, because these big universities, they have more donors, they have more dollars coming in. These network deals for the schools, that's why this court case matters so much, because money is the king. Money drives everything. And facilities, what can you offer the players? So I don't know. I would love to see an even playing field, but you'll never get there.
No, I don't think you will, but that would be great. I agree. And then you do that, and you definitely are branching off by super conference.
Yeah, because at that point they are employees. It's no longer, because even in Virginia with the new law that was signed, they still cannot be employees of the school. However, the school can pay them for appearances, basically.
Right.
So
they go
say it's not an employee. It's a very, it's a legal term. That's about it.
Yeah, they go and appear on the Cavalier Connection at Buffalo Wild Wings, and they get an appearance fee.
Right.
You're right.
And it's more than you and I make in a year.
It might be more than that, more than just a year, especially if you're the Cooper Flaggs of the world. But yeah, we'll see. The portal is crazy. I was coming up with an idea for tonight's show, and with the transfer portal coming to an end on Wednesday, as far as being able to enter, I thought it was a good time to just take a look at what everybody's got left to fill. As a Virginia fan, made me feel a little bit better, but it's crazy out there. So
it is wild.
So
you gotta check your phone every 5 minutes, or you're gonna miss something.
No doubt. I mean, I'm on X, and I know you are all day. I'm checking X all day, just hoping for some kind of a breaking news. And today, I was on X all day looking for ACC, something to break into ACC. And we got the Hall declaring for the NBA draft for me. And then we got, Duke had Sean Stewart committed to Ohio State today. So Big Ten, if you're listening, the Ohio podcast, you just got a 5-star today. But it's the news comes fast and furious for some, and then for some of us, it's been slow.
Oh, there's a ton of news. It's just nobody's signing. They're visiting. We're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. We finished second. We'd have the top recruiting class in the country if it was who finished second.
Yeah,
we just can't close the deal right now for some reason.
They're touring the house, but they're moving on. They're finding bigger and better things in their opinion. So.
Which is crazy to me. I mean, beautiful arena, national championship pedigree coach. You're going to win every year. I mean, to a certain degree.
And he's got guys going to the NBA as well.
Absolutely. And
the quick side note, real quick, just so you got the Virginia hat on. You seen the stuff Kyle Guy was doing overseas?
Oh yeah, he put up 40 in a game, I think.
Going nuts. He set a Final Four scoring record overseas.
Yeah, and then congratulations to him. His son was born. Second son was born. Yep. Former Virginia great. Those 3 free throws in the Final Four. That will live forever. I mean, they might be the most clutch free throws in the history of college basketball.
Yeah, they definitely were. They were definitely clutch.
I mean, not just for Virginia fans. I'm talking.
No. I know.
You can't get on a bigger stage unless it was actually the championship game.
Right. As a Virginia fan, I'm thrilled. There's a lot of Auburn fans out there said that the referee swallowed the whistle on the double dribble, but he also swallowed the whistle on the foul that led to the double dribble. So
yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna move on. So each week I'm gonna be starting. I do this with the Cavalier Connection, but an ACC Spotlight athlete. So let me just present who we got this week here. So this one for me was kind of an easy one. Last week was the NFL draft. The ACC had 41 players selected in the NFL draft. And the top dog of those was Drake May. He was the number 3 pick of the New England Patriots. I'm a Commanders fan, and I thought there was a possibility he was going to become a Commander, and he didn't. But Drake May was the number 3 overall pick to the New England Patriots. I think it might be a tough spot for him, at least to start. The weapons there, they don't have the weapons so much, but they've also got Jacoby Brissett signed there, so there's a possibility. I don't know. There's no way they don't start Drake May from day one. I wouldn't think. But Jacoby Brissett.
I mean, Brissett is. It depends on how bad that offensive line is. You can make some excuses to say we want to let him watch and let Brissett kind of take some of that beating. And then when you're 3-9, 2-8, pull the trigger and let him get the last, half or a third of the season. I hope they let him sit, honestly. But you're right; they probably will start him. But
I was gonna say Jacoby Brissett, and this is what Jacoby Brissett does. So he did it in Cleveland when Deshaun Watson was.
He's not bad.
Right. Jacoby Brissett, he came in for Sam Howell at the end of the year last year and played well. I think he's a great bridge quarterback, and also with the weapons in New England not being exactly the best, starting a Jacoby Brissett wouldn't be the worst thing to play him 8, 9, 10 weeks and let Drake May learn from him and develop a little bit.
Right.
But that's not the NFL of today for the most part. There's not too many Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Loves out there. They got their shiny new toy, and Drake May is the number 3 pick, was the shiny new toy, and I know they want to take him out and show him off. At North Carolina, he was a 2-year starter. He was a 2022 ACC Offensive Player of the Year. His comparison in the NFL, who is that, Jay? You know who that is?
Herbert?
Yeah, Herbert. That's who they compare him to.
Yeah.
Which if you get a Justin Herbert, that's a great get. So I was a hair nervous as a Commander fan if we would have got Drake May, but I'm not a football expert or X's and O's guy. But if you told me Drake May is going to become Justin Herbert, let's get him.
I don't even care I don't even need to know what Jaden Daniels
Nope.
You don't have to tell me. He could be somebody who's better, but I don't even need to know that.
Yep. If I can get a guaranteed
Commanders, I would have been calling the Chargers. Hey, if you want the second pick to take your boy McCarthy, we'll give you the second pick. You just give us Herbert, even swap.
And I don't understand. Harbaugh says JJ McCarthy's the best quarterback in the draft.
He's ever seen. Best quarterback he's ever seen.
He should have been antsy to get up there to pick 2, pick 1. Shucks, to go ahead and get his guy.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Drake May and North Carolina having the number 3 pick in the draft. We'll see how that all turns out. I wish him the best. No, nothing against Drake May. I wish him the best. He sat behind our guy Sam Howell, who's no longer a Commander either. But it was kind of interesting before the Commanders traded Sam Howell away. It was a North Carolina basketball game. It might have been Carolina and Duke. And courtside was Sam Howell and Drake May side by side.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, watching the game together, I'm thinking, dang, they might be side by side in the locker room, when the NFL draft comes around, because for the longest time it looked like the Commanders were gonna draft. The talk was Drake May at the start, and then the Jaden Daniels talk, kicked in. And the same thing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell was they have some similarities. He was a projected top 5 pick. Sam Howell was.
He stayed in college too long.
Yep.
So did Drake May, but he still went highly.
Right.
I think he has more of what you're looking for in the prototypical size. If Howell was 6'4", he wouldn't have been in the 4th round. But the talent evaluators in the NFL, I mean, they look at what you did on the field, but they're really looking at your measurables to what can you be.
Right.
And
and that's what led to Jaden Daniels. And not that he wasn't already a highly thought of quarterback, but when you can run like he can and you get into that combine situation, we just talked about that on the connection with Cavalier connection with Ryan Dunn. When there was no way he's not going to enter the draft because his stock had dropped during the season. However, it's getting ready to climb because when he gets into the NBA combine, the measurables, the leaping, the size.
He got a 7'2" wingspan at 6'8".
The athleticism.
Jump out of the gym. I mean,
correct. He's gonna go from I don't know where they had him projected last, but towards the back of the first round to he's gonna climb probably right back up into around that top 20 range. Yep. There's NBA coaches believe they could turn me into Steve Kerr at least, and but they're wrong. But they believe it, and that's how these coaches.
If you're talking about Steve Kerr, the coach, they got a better shot. If you're talking Steve Kerr, the player, they got no shot.
You ain't seen me shoot the ball in about 20 years, Jay. I got that shot going. Yeah, so, but I wish him the best of luck. Finally, did want to kind of mention a few things, other news around the ACC. Today, the ACC lacrosse tournament at 5:00, Virginia and Notre Dame played. Notre Dame, the 1 seed, they beat Virginia 18-9 to advance to the final that will be played on Sunday, I believe. Right now,
that was only like 5 days after playing them to an 11-9 game. It's disappointing today.
Yeah. And then also right now, they start at 8:00, so I don't know a scoring update, but Syracuse, the 2 seed, is playing the 3 seed Duke. So I don't have any idea what the score that is. The winners will play for the ACC championship. Jay, how many teams make the lacrosse NCAA tournament?
Putting me on the spot with a question.
I didn't know if you. I don't know. I'm asking to see.
I don't think it's 64.
What's that?
I don't think it's 64.
No.
It's
a lot left.
I would assume it's around 16 to 20.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. I'm asking. It's Virginia. I'm using Virginia as my example.
Virginia's in. I mean, they're in.
I mean, the ACC's always loaded.
The ACC's probably got the top 5 teams.
Right. Also I want to mention the ACC baseball. 7 teams ranked in the top 25. Clemson's number 4. So that season's still rolling. Not much longer to go. I think the ACC tournament is I want to say the last week of May for baseball. So ACC baseball always excelling. A lot of talent out there. I expect to see somebody make a run out of the ACC
I think you'll see 2 in Omaha from the ACC. That would be my guess. I think you'll see 2, maybe 3 ACC teams make it to Omaha.
There'll be a lot of baseball played on the East Coast in the College World Series.
Oh, yeah. The last projection I saw for the NCAA tournament bracket had one of the super regionals was Virginia, Florida State, at Florida State. That was would have been, potted
right
matchups. So if it stayed that way, you'd have a guarantee of one going to Omaha, if they were to meet.
Right. Finally, I want to mention ACC softball tournament starts next week, May 8th through the 11th. That's going to be held at Duke, and Duke has actually got the best record in the ACC. They are 20-4, 44-6 overall. Florida State is rolling. They're only 1 game back of Duke, but this is it this weekend, so it's looking like Duke's going to win the regular season title and have the number 1 seed. There's 4 teams currently ranked in the top 25, but there's 5 or 6 really good teams and who have really good records as well. So
I think Virginia's 4th. Who's 3rd? Is that Virginia Tech?
No. Virginia Tech is Virginia Tech. I had the standings pulled up a little bit ago, and now my mind just went blank. Virginia Tech's in that top 5. I can't recall.
They've beaten us twice, but they were considered they weren't considered ACC games.
I think that Virginia was ahead of Virginia Tech in the standings.
They could be. Right. That's possible. But I just know they beat us twice, even though they weren't considered ACC games.
Right. The Virginia softball team is having a really good year.
Yeah. For sure. Best year in probably my life.
Right. So that's what we got around the ACC. Jay, did you have anything before I start wrapping this one up tonight?
No, just looking forward to the baseball tournament, softball tournaments, lacrosse, NCAA tournament. The spring seasons are wrapping up, and then you know what that means.
Oh, yeah.
Spring season wraps up. What's next?
It's football time.
It's football time. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
It's exciting. And we hope, I say it's strictly on my shoulders. This is Jeff Lowe's mistakes over the last 3 weeks. By football season, I might be able to do this. This is crazy. We do the Cavalier Connection each week, and some weeks I'm running through StreamYard, and some weeks it's Jay or Jack, and haven't had issues. I get on the ACC Huddle, and the problems start kicking in. But we're going to get it straight. I appreciate everyone's patience with us. I know tonight, I think there's a 1-minute episode that never got to air, which was good. I figured, my best bet was just to end the stream and we just start from scratch, because I only have it going to YouTube. So if it's not aired on YouTube, nobody's seeing that screw up. Right. So that's why I was late tonight. But, thank you for tuning in to the ACC Huddle tonight. I want to make sure you know where you can find us at the College Huddle podcast. The ACC Huddle is on every Friday night at 9:00 at the College Huddle podcast on YouTube. Check out all of our conference shows, the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12, and the G5 Hive at the same website on YouTube at the College Huddle Podcast. Also, check out thecollegehuddle.com for updated podcasts from over 70 schools. There's tons of information. There's articles written from all sorts of folks on there with talking about their specific schools. Finally, the shameless plug here, you can also find Jay and myself over at the Cavalier Connection podcast on YouTube. Definitely go check that out, like it, subscribe it, do the same to the College Huddle podcast. Other than that, I'd like to thank everybody again for watching, and we'll see you guys next week, same time, same place, same day. Have a great evening.